Welcome back to Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture and the official podcast of comicbook.com. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw, and with me today, I have my co-hosts, Matthew Aguilar and Janelle Wheeler. What's up, everybody?
Hi, happy to be here.
Everybody's living on a prayer, hanging by a thread.
Yes.
Living on a prayer.
Yeah, we got a lot going on. But it's going to be a crazy day. We're starting to get into the content rush of 2025. And this week, obviously, the biggest thing on our docket is the return of Daredevil. So we're back, baby. It's time to go back to Hell's Kitchen, the place I just moved from, to come down here in Nashville. And even I appreciated a great joke about Hell's Kitchen and the show about how it's kind of been really transformed these days. But we're going to get into all that Daredevil goodness and what it means for the MCU and how we are reacting to the first episodes of Born Again. But it's not the only thing we got to talk about this week. We have some geek news to get into. There was a big concept art leak, and I'm using air quotes for our audio listeners if you're not watching us on the live show. There was a concept art leak that we got to talk about. We saw.
It's that kind of morning, man. It's that kind of morning.
AI has taken over the stream.
For our audio listeners, Kofi's mic fell to the floor as he was talking. By the way, we have to also address real quick while he's getting that together. Thank you all who listened to the audio only version last week, because this group was a little unhinged, and we got good reviews for that. I feel like
yeah, people liked it.
Am I back? Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Oh God, my mic is so crooked right now, but we're just gonna not touch it. This is the kind of day we are all having. We're not gonna get we're only gonna say it is one of those chaotic days today. And we have things like mics falling off the table and all kinds of stuff. But anyway, my whole spiel was we're gonna talk about that weird trailer that came out for Powerpuff. We're going to talk a little bit, not too much, about the Oscars. We're going to catch up with some TV and catch up with some comics. And God willing, we're going to get to Matt's agenda today. So we're going to see how this all works out. All right. So let's get to it, because time is of the essence, apparently. This thing is held together by a thread. Matt, what do we got up first?
Oh man, okay, so I love that you gave this to me. Because I'm so intrigued. For those who remember,
wait, before you go into it, there was a reason I gave it to you, because I knew if I gave it to Janelle would have been
Janelle would have been muting your mic.
Okay, so we'll get to the. So for those who remember, there was a Powerpuff Girls CW show that was causing all kinds of buzz, and people were talking about it. Obviously, Powerpuff Girls is a beloved IP. I adore the cartoon Mojo Jojo for life, right? And so but this was a live action show. Chloe Bennett was starring as Blossom. And they were kind of taking a, let's see if we can bring some like reality and some kind of semi grown-up vibes to the show. And it was a very unique take, right? Well, it never actually ended up happening. The show got, kind of didn't make it past the pilot. But no one has actually seen the show until now. It all been just talks about interviews and things. But the trailer actually finally made its way online yesterday, the day before. It was this week, obviously, but I can't remember exactly what day. But it finally made its way up there. It was a trailer for the show, giving you a look at kind of the humor, the effects. Obviously, there's like, a little bit of some battle sequences and stuff, and obviously the three leads as the main trio. It caused a lot of debate actually back and forth, because while you might assume it was all negative, it was not. And in fact, from what I saw online, I saw kind of down the middle of people go, "Oh my God, this is trash. Someone saved us." And then I would watch a bunch of episodes of that show. I saw a lot of that online. It's kind of a like, we have after something happens in Townsville that causes all of the girls to there's like this big tragedy that happens, and the mayor, who is named Mojo, which I think is great, is killed. And so they all kind of go their separate ways, and like Bubbles is kind of going like trying to make it off her fame in LA. Blossom just runs away. Oh my God, I'm blanking on Buttercup. Buttercup becomes a firefighter. There's just some weird stuff happening here. I'm gonna save my reaction to the trailer for the end, because I'm very curious. Janelle, what did you think of actually watching this play out? Like, where you sit? Oh, you're muted.
I am so confused. Like, I'm so taken aback by this. Like, I started watching it when you started talking, and that was like a live reaction, and I'm just so confused. Okay, wait. So we're supposed to, okay. So like, who is this for? Is this for like millennial kids who grew up, like early millennial kids who grew up with the cartoon?
I think maybe.
I'm so like, I didn't watch. They were still like, I babysat the kids who watched this as
Right,
like a cartoon. Yeah. So I didn't really ever watch it. I just obviously knew who they were, and they were adorable, and I always liked Bubbles. But it feels like just like trash TV that I will actually really enjoy, and it
See, but there it is. Yeah, you would have enjoyed it.
It won't disturb my life.
You guys are crazy.
Invincible is killing me this week. And Stupid Paradise, I wanted to stop watching that, but Kofi's like, "Hey, we're gonna cover the whole thing." So I'm like, I did not sleep last night because it's so disturbing if you binge it. And you know what? I like shows like this. I like shows like the Waves show on Netflix that just released, the basketball show. Like, I love that stuff. So you know what? Heck, I'll check it out.
Well, it's not coming, by the way.
Yeah,
it's happening. Yeah, it's done. That thing got.
Wait, it was just a trailer?
It's just the trailer. See, but
that's
but it hooked you, and now you kind of want to watch. All right, Kofi, where are you sitting on this?
I mean, look, I'm gonna go like a hard pivot for most of what Janelle said, because like we were in college still. And Powerpuff Girls was one of those shows like you could put on at a party in the background, like no volume. Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. But dude, Powerpuff Girls is like one of the most subversive and funny kind of like cartoons.
Just hanging out at the clubs. I didn't even do the parties, so I don't know about that
hilarious.
Yeah, house parties. Yeah. I don't think you were in the same kind of rooms I was in, Janelle, but that's okay. That's okay. But yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, we were laid back, and you had to have some music pumping, and you had to have a TV up on the mantle. You all know what I'm talking about. While you were kicking back, just getting your swerve on in college parties, and you had to have something on the TV. And Cartoon Network was what we put on, so that's why half of us became fascinated with Dragon Ball Z and Powerpuff Girls and Dexter's Laboratory and everything.
I love Dexter.
and whatever the hell was on Toonami at like between midnight and like 3 a.m. Like that's how we all got into that whole thing. Usually without sound at first, then later with sound. Being like, what did I see last night? Oh man, this is actually pretty good. And so like this was, I think they were going for that same spirit of the show because, like I said, it is a very subversive show. It is kind of like very much, it was this kind of like slyly feminist kind of thing about, you know, these little, you know, sugar, spice, everything nice girls who were actually like had the power of Superman and could like, you know, knock people the F out if they wanted to. And there's a lot of kind of like subversive humor about that. And like it was, and it's also like a very funny spin on like old superhero, like kind of like serials and kind of classic Superman and all that. But so I think they were going for that same spirit in live action. It just the
Reddit comments are crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But I'm gonna shoot at some bail and say, in a weird way, I think it was one, ahead of its time in a kind of way, and two, just didn't have the production values to really pull off what it was trying to do on a CW budget.
Yeah, I think that's.
But I think it was ahead of its time because I think they were trying to take that satirical element of the cartoon and bring it into live action to say, if these girls were really dealing with stuff in the real world, like this is how it would be like for them, and do that kind of satirical thing, which is what we now love about The Boys, right?
Peacemaker, even Invincible does it, right? Like there's so many shows that kind of do that now.
Yeah, it's like this postmodern kind of like superhero kind of take about where we're aware of the superhero tropes and mythos within these new shows we're telling. And so like, yeah, I think it was kind of ahead of its time, but like, yeah, it took a big swing, but it just couldn't quite make it. Like, I think something like this on HBO, I think we could, or Max or that's the same thing, or like kind of one of the streaming services or something like Netflix. I think somebody said Netflix in the comments, but like something like that, I could see them doing it where you could actually just fully lean into this. Like, you know,
because there's a spot where they show their powers and you're like, oh, that looks rough. Right.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's not just that. But like you could have, I mean, one of them, like Bubbles, would be like, you know, having casual Bumble hookups and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like that's what we're getting like on Netflix and HBO, where they can fully lean into that concept of the girls being in the real world and having to deal with real world, real women like issues and stuff like that. Anxiety, loneliness, anxiety, all that stuff. But this is kind of like a weird half swing. And so it's just kind of like, it looks like somebody made a fan concept trailer. But I don't know this, if the reaction is the way like Janelle is a good test subject, like maybe we get a Deadpool thing going out of this. You know what I mean? Like maybe this kickstarts something. Who knows?
Between this and that new Warrior series that I was robbed of.
I'm
still bitter about that. Okay. I'm still bitter that I got robbed of
Squirrel Girl's getting her Marvel rival shine. She's as the Junkrat of the whole business and just kind of always smacking me. Even with my Captain America shield with those little bouncing.
Is hilarious in that game.
Squirrel Stampede. Yeah. There we go.
Good.
Yeah.
So I dug it too. Rivals. I agree, but I dig it for all the same reasons that you two kind of went in. It would have been interesting for that to receive a full season and see them maybe try and work out some of the kinks. Because I agree with you. I don't think it's all there. Right. There's parts that I'm like, I don't think that works or this, but like the Bubbles of it all has so much potential. I mean, she's hilarious in the trailer. I mean, there's just so many little great moments with Bubbles. The whole having JoJo be the next mayor that steps in, and that's how you create your villain, and he's mad at them because of whatever happened. There's a lot of like fun things there. And I think if they had like a season to kind of work it out, and also maybe not been on, the CW, maybe be on a streamer where they could really kind of lean into those more adult themes. I think it might have worked. I don't know. I kind of look at that and I was like, I would have liked to see that play. I did think the levitating drop was hilarious to me for whatever reason, because it's just like, it feels like it's just like a moment in time that was the hot song. And so it's just like, boom, here you go. You know, if we had seen a trailer leak from, I don't know, 15 years ago or whatever, it's hilarious to see like what the, you know, the needle drops would be. You know, it's like whatever was hot at the time. So, yeah. So anyway, a little more split on this than I thought I'd be. Not gonna lie.
All right. Well, I think we've given this more than enough time of our day today.
A lot of time.
You could go on Reddit and check out that Powerpuff Girls live action. It's called Powerpuff to be technically accurate here. The Powerpuff trailer. It's over there on Reddit. So dive into that rabbit hole if you'd wish. We are going to move on to just a quick look at the Oscars, just because we mentioned it last week and we talked about kind of like what we would care about as geeks. So here's what we got. I mean, not surprisingly, not so much for us to care about, right? I think everybody should go see Anora. I think Sean Baker's director Sean Baker's thing, Anora won best picture. It won a best director, best actress, and best screenplay. And it is a good movie. It was one of the favorites. I saw that early on because we have to do all these things for the critics groups I'm in. So I saw that early on and I was like, oh, I didn't think it would go this far by any means, but yeah, if you got to watch The Brutalist is hilarious because there's a big twist in The Brutalist that nobody's talked about throughout this award season. And I'm so curious when the average person sits down and watches The Brutalist, how they're going to come away feeling after investing 3.5 hours in that and getting into like the major twist of that movie. So that's going to be funny. Yeah, Mickey Madison, who was one of our Scream queens. She was the killer in Scream 5 when they did the reboot with Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega. She was actually the killer in that one. So it was good to see Kieran Culkin, our boy, win. That's good. Succession. Yeah, that's more not in our comic book wheelhouse, but Kieran Culkin's awesome. And A Real Pain is a good movie too. It's also one of those character-driven things that's just kind of a good watch. Zoe Saldana has an Oscar, which is nuts.
Yeah.
That right there is just good campaigning. That she has a hell of a team around her, and they campaigned her even through all the controversy with Amelia Perez to that Oscar. But she does a hell of a job of that movie. It's crazy. I mean, she sings, she dances, and she basically completes the trifecta of saying, I can do anything out here. And I'm not going to get into the off-screen controversy with her. Like, let that girl live. Jesus Christ. All this stuff. Oh, my God. Everybody can make everything. You know, Conclave got some stuff. Nobody cared about that on our side. So, Dune got some things. Wicked got some things. So, I mean, that was about it. And The Substance even got like a little bit of something for makeup and hairstyling. So that was about it for us. But I think we're done with the era of Hollywood the Oscars trying to pander to geek culture and trying to get us some movies and stuff in there. Seems like we out of there as many things are changing right now. So
Conan was great.
Oh, Conan was amazing. Yeah, Conan was actually I think we've all solidified on the fact that Conan is the Oscars host we need. He's weird enough. He's funny enough. And he knows what's great about Conan and why they screwed up Late Night Forever was he knows how to bring it right to the edge of something and then kind of like pull it back. Like just this, because Conan really is a mean bastard. Like if you've ever really studied the man, like as a man, but he's a great comedian because he knows how to be just light and funny and self-deprecating, pull it right. So yeah, he was great as a host, man. I dug that. But they do have to shorten this. I have a lot of curse words in our rundown about the Oscars. So like it's still too long, way too long. Like, and this year was again films that nobody saw. My wife was like, I feel like I'm on an alien planet right now because I know you have, but I haven't seen any of this. And I was proud. I actually sat down and watched all these films this year. Wow. I was an honest critic. A lot of you critics out there are not honest. You watch what you want to watch. You watch what you think you care about. And then you don't. And then you go in and act like you voted all objectively. But I know the game. I watched everything. So, yeah. All right. But anyway, so that's the Oscars. I'm with the people. I'm with Brywood. Shout out to the live chat. I'm with Brywood. We should have, at this point, geek culture really, I mean, we've had some, like, because I remember when Screen Rant won a geeky award and things like that, but we need like a real official kind of like fandom things that entertained us, distracted us from the hell of life, all those kinds of
That's
things.
kind of what the MTV Awards were going for at one time. They've since not.
Yeah.
That was kind of their thing. Like it was like, oh, all the movies you actually saw and cared about this year, we're gonna give shine. And then they've kind of morphed into, well, the movie and TV side anyway. The music awards are still the music awards, but like the movie and TV and stuff has kind of morphed into something else.
We need to hatch like a versus, like kind of Swiss Beats, Timbaland style idea for that. Something that takes place like digitally, that everybody tunes in for and like is streams and like get the streamers on board, you know, get those Kai's, KSI's, Zai's, Rise and Eyes, and you know,
Kai just did a whole Arkhamverse playthrough.
That was crazy. Shout out to that. That was insane. That was insane. These kids, shout out to these kids, man. I could never do it. I could never watch it, but shout out to everybody. I have a 6-year-old son now, so this is all becoming part of my world, whether I want it to or not. All right, so that's the Oscars. We're not going to get off the rails this week. We have the live chat back. We saw what happens when we take the chat away. And it's just us in a room. Yes. Which is actually interesting what this podcast would be if it had never been live, because we were forced to get up there and do it live every week, which was terrifying in the beginning, because they didn't tell us that like no other podcast really does this or doesn't have to like hinge everything on doing it live.
Yeah.
Like you can actually cut things. You can choose what to keep. It's nuts.
Editing. Yep.
Editing. Yes, it's nuts. But I mean, now we're hard as like we're like Fight Club hard. All right. Yeah, we are good.
Recorded podcasts are easy. We're like, oh, this is nice. Let's
I mean, we talk bad about y'all behind your back. We don't not out loud. We're like, yeah, you get your money. Yeah, make your cuts.
I love it. Well,
all right, let's go,
I'll
Janelle.
slide into mine. Okay, you guys, concept art, it has been leaked. I don't even know how this happened. Like, how do you accidentally post?
Oh my God.
I have a big theory about this. Big theory, because this is still up as we're speaking.
I thought they deleted it.
Oh, did they?
Yes, like immediately. But like,
I saw it for a while. I was like on Reddit.
Okay, wait.
Like,
it says a Marvel concept artist.
It's still here.
Moosh,
it's still in our article.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying he leaked it accidentally by posting it to an ArtStation page, and then he deleted it quickly. But like all of the fans got it.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
Screenshots.
Like,
I know. How do you do that?
I think the chat is with me. I don't think you do. I can't write this yet because I don't feel like getting the Mouse House snipers on me. But like, I think this was the smartest marketing ploy that Disney's done in a while.
Oh, it was on purpose.
I'm of the opinion that this is absolutely on purpose.
Okay.
Think about every one of the images that was leaked. Yeah. Like every single one of them has some kind of relevance to hyping up something. Think about it. Think about where Marvel Studios is. One of the biggest things we are all wondering right now is how do you make, like, we're all playing around, but 2026 is like, we are like 365 days away from an Avengers Doomsday hype machine going into effect.
Crazy.
Because the movie's about to hit.
Yeah.
That's 1 year from now. Okay. There's no more story left, guys. I don't think this is sunk into the majority of the MCU people's head. Like, it's over. Like, we've done phase 4, 5. It's over. Like, the multiverse saga, we've done this. None of it's connected. None of it kind of matters. Like, and there's no more chances to do that. Like, what do you do to make people think this is all relevant? Well, think about it. Now, what do we have? Well, we have a picture of how cool Robert Downey Jr. is going to look as Doom. Oh, we see the Fantastic Four in this other world, and we have this idea of what Doomsday is even going to be, with this kind of other world we're going to be in, where there's a village of Hulks. Look, Village of Hulks, Star-Lord and Vision. Now you can care about that TV show. Like, you know, we're going to do the Chadwick Boseman thing, but how? We don't know yet. You know, is that a CGI? Is it Damson Idris? We don't know. Like, we're going to find out, you know? So I think, and then even Fantastic Four concept art leaking. Like, think about everything we saw in there.
I didn't even know if that was a leak or because, like, I mean, is that like actual official concept art? Because like all I have is the Reddit link. you know?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it all is stuff that we are going to end up seeing, or at least was kind of in the ballpark of stuff we're going to end up seeing, even if they went with a different concept artist. Like,
Well,
because I think,
spoiler alert, if it does leak, we definitely know that she was pregnant in those in the trailer.
yeah, but yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It fits with stuff we saw in the trailer. We know
Mhm.
that she was pregnant and that like this is what it was all about, and like hyping up this baby coming. And I think we'll see a time jump. Then the baby will be there, and and I think that video will probably start us off as like a newsreel that's the exposition, right? Like the Fantastic Four are the world's most premier heroes when they were first blah 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 after a rocket ship. Then they saved this, and then we'll get a brief rundown of their history. Then it'll be like, hey, we enter the movie as them doing the tour of the Baxter building as Sue's pregnant, blah blah blah, and then it'll be that footage in that old kind of ratio. And then when we get to the
Mhm.
movie, it'll be after she's had the baby and life as it actually is when they have this kid, which will be a whole kind of family commentary, right? About like the chaos and all that of when you have a baby and it changes things and all that, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Right.
So they made this movie for you, Janelle. They
Yeah.
made it for you.
Why do I feel like
yeah.
everything is made for me these days? It's just like,
Yeah, it
We gotta
happens.
get Janelle. That
I
is
know.
Kevin Feige's.
Look,
That's on his door.
thank-
dude, Invincible
oh my
last
God.
week's episode killed me. Like,
Thank your
the-
lucky stars that it's like Fantastic Four. My post having baby movie was Arrival. Like,
oh
oh,
my
jeez.
God.
yeah,
I
I
haven't
sat
watched
in
it. I want to rewatch
I
it.
went to a screening in Philly, and I've never watched that movie again. I
Yeah.
went to a screening in Philly, and everybody was gone from the theater because I had to I couldn't get up because I was sobbing so hard. Like,
Oh.
I was just like, that movie like broke me. I was like, oh my God. Oh
I'm
my
trying
God.
to
I was just
think.
like,
So the baby is due in August and like late August, and I'm trying to remember what movie comes out like the very next month or whatever that might be the first movie of that
Gosh.
post baby. I don't remember what comes out in September. I have to look at a calendar. But yeah, I'm trying to think. It needs to be like a Pixar thing. It needs to be like something.
Yeah. But those are
Very
those
sweet.
kill your heart too.
Well,
Those
that's
make you
true.
cry.
I mean, Up. Oh my God! If I had
oh
to
my
watch
God.
Up or
Oh,
Wally.
I watched that with Allison in the theater, like with no idea of what I was getting into when I sat down for that, because it had just come out. And again, it was a screening that I went to. I knew it was Pixar. I knew it was about an adventure, but they didn't tell you in the trailers like anything about the heartbreak part of it. So I was emotionally shattered by the time that movie started. I was like, thank God there's an adventure part of this movie, because like the lights cannot come up right now. Like, yeah, no. Oh man,
Oh my God.
that should be a good
The
list.
comments never fail. Brywood, that baby coming out with wings on his feet and kills. It's so wrong. That is so wrong. Also,
also,
the
I want to
image.
address one question
Oh, go
from chat. All in the game. All in the game over on YouTube asked, what is the worst case
Oh.
scenario if both Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four are critical and financial flops? I can answer that actually. I
Oh
think
my
this
God.
ties into the concept art. I think if that is a flop, what you're going to see is the Marvel marketing machine switch to marketing Doomsday and Secret Wars as the event that will reset and redefine the MCU forever. Basically a coded way of saying, hey y'all, we know it's been a mess, but we about to sweep this ish right off the board and give you a big reset. And so that'll get everybody hyped to say goodbye to this old mess and see what they're going to get in this new reset. And that reset is like really the thing we've been going for ever since this started being a mess after the pandemic. Like really, we've all been like, okay, bring on the X-Men. Like, come on, like, let's get to it.
I know Cap is, not like Cap is actually on the trajectory that I thought it would be on, but it's not on like the, obviously like $1 billion trajectory and stuff. I have a hard time believing though that neither Thunderbolts nor F4 will be able to break through. Like one of them, sure, like one of them might not perform like they hope or think, But both of them, like, I don't know. There's just between the newness and everything that is, and the star power that's Fantastic Four, and just the sheer, like, I feel like MCU fans are really getting behind Thunderbolts as the one, right? Kind of holding that up and like, this is what we've been missing. I just have a hard time that both of them will disappoint as far as box office goes. But I think you're spot on. I did want to shout out the one image that wasn't in the Reddit post, but the one that got me most excited was the new Avengers style group shot that had our boy Dupe in it off to the side.
Oh, you mean the Young Avengers?
New Avengers, Young Avengers, champions, whatever they call them.
Yeah.
Whatever they call. I prefer champions.
Kamala Khan and them.
Kamala Khan, the two brothers, right?
Should I grenade?
Oh, what?
Go for it.
None of these images, not one, get me excited. Well, okay, maybe just the only one that gets me excited is seeing White Vision. That's it. Nothing else. I'm like, I don't need a medieval like time
I don't know
jump.
if you can say that these days. No,
these
days it's a thing you better say.
I was gonna make that joke, but I did not.
White Vision.
No, these days you're more than safe. These days you're good.
All about it.
Yeah.
I can't believe these would be the intentional still. I don't know. I'm just not very thrilled about these.
I was actually behind the Doom stuff. If they actually put Robert Downey Jr. behind the mask in like the concept art kind of is indicating, like it looks kind of menacing with the superior Iron Man vibes and like all of that, and the throne room and the medieval scene. Like I kind of dug that. I kind of dug the little Easter eggs of the art, like that the Fantastic Four are going to probably end up in this reality where Doom is ruling and, you know, Sue becomes his like queen and like he kind of cucks Reed Richards in this weird way and like has him in chains and stuff. Like, because that's from the comics. That's real stuff. There is this weird cuckold dynamic between Reed and Doom where Doom essentially wants to supplant Reed and be Reed, but he can't ever quite make it, even though Reed's such a damn weirdo. And like, but he can't ever get over on this nerd. And Doom is like the cooler. I mean, Doom, that's what it is. Like Reed's the weird guy in MIT. Reed is the quiet guy in the corner. Doom is the dude with the tattoos doing all kinds of blowtorching and making all kinds of crazy stuff. And for some whatever reason, the Sue Storm pretty girl just likes the quiet guy in the corner, and it drives the tattoo guy crazy. And that's the dynamic of the Fantastic Four in a nutshell. Like that's like the whole thing. Yes, I did. I said it all in the game. I have to say the words of what, I'm going to use the words that apply. So anyway, I liked the throne room stuff. I liked the Doom stuff. I thought it was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else I was suspect about because it felt like
Kate
promo.
Bishop and Doom?
No, I like that, but it felt like promo. I was like, there is so much promo in that one shot. That's like true. It's just like, and that's why I felt like it was staged. It's like, hey, we know who Speed is. Hey, Young Avengers are coming. Hey, guess who's back? It's Wong and Star-Lord. Like, and Dupe. Like, even like a weird, most random X-Men connection. Like, it's crazy.
We're getting too much Wong and like no Strange anymore.
Boy. You've broken.
He's a 5-year-old. I love it.
He's broken.
I love it.
Doctor Strange.
I'm trying to be a mature 43-year-old man right now. I can't
right now, dude.
I love nerds.
Strange has so all funny. But like just vanished from artwork and
I know.
movies.
Well, that's Strange like standing next to Doom in the medieval area.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what I'm saying. It's like that's why I feel like all of this is planned because
Long is cheaper.
Stop. I'm trying to pull it together, man. Try not to break. I feel like I'm Jimmy Fallon on SNL.
That's amazing. All right.
Are we still doing phrasing? Are we not doing that anymore? Anyway. Yeah. Stop.
Oh God. All right. Let's go.
Yes, I thought like that's why I think this is planned because it's like all these little Easter eggs that make you go, you know what I mean? And so that's why I'm kind of like really suspect about this whole thing. But I think Strange, that is a Secret Wars Easter egg, if I'm not mistaken. I got the book behind me. It's not like I couldn't break it out. But I think in the 2015 one, Strange is Doom's like conciliary, but like secretly also still kind of a double agent or something like that. So that tracks. I was like, okay,
read
that
that
tracks.
by the way.
Yeah, it's a good book.
reread.
It's a very interesting book. I don't think I was prepared for Hickman when it first came out, like 10 years ago. I didn't understand what he was cooking with. So I thought, I was like, this is one of the weirdest things I've ever read. So, yeah, I don't know. We're going to have to maybe dig back into Secret Wars. That's a good point.
Yeah.
But, okay. I mean, my end point is, I don't know how I feel about any of this. I just feel like this was something kind of planned as a ploy because I think it is the only way to get us hyped about this movie because there's no other reason.
Yeah.
All these characters coming back together, we have no reason to care. None. There's no overarching thing that's been pulling us. Like, we're finally going to get to, like, all we're looking for is the reset, really. So, I don't know. I think we've given this more than enough time now for this concept art.
That should be the title for the show. I think we've given this more time.
We've given this more than enough
Powerpuff.
time.
Love it.
A frustrated geek podcast. Yeah.
Everyone's just waiting for Daredevil
enough
chat, and we're like, no.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's Daredevil time. Then we're going to get to some other TV stuff, comics, and hopefully Matt's agenda. Okay, are we back?
Yes.
All right, so we're back, and I realize I'm doing so well today that I'd even put one of the things in our cover image into the show, which would be Invincible. So let's start, even though Janelle's the only person on point who mentioned it like 4 times. Why I remembered, I was like, wait a minute. I was like, where is Invincible in all this? So we're going to start with Daredevil, though, because the audience has waited long enough through our shenanigans. Daredevil Born Again. So I can't remember. I think, was Daredevil over? When anybody quickly on Wikipedia, was the Netflix series over when we started this podcast? Did we ever talk about it?
We did not. At least when I was around, we didn't chat about it.
Okay.
Like,
so
we had already missed like
2018.
Okay, so we
Yeah.
just missed it. Yeah, we just missed it. All right, so we never got to talk about Daredevil on the show. That is crazy. It's been that long since it's been off the air. All right.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, obviously we all saw it. Obviously we were all influenced by it. And I think around the room, we generally all like it, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, woo. You never
Big
know.
fan.
You guys always have like some weird chamber of secrets that like pops out. Like, every time we start watching, but so this is the comeback attempt. This is the thing we're all looking at. This is the show where the Chapek era hit the wall and they looked at what they were making and they were like, you are not doing this to this character. And they were like, you better start over. And they reshot the show. They made it connected to the Netflix one, you know, all the things we already know. So we're here to just kind of address the elephant in the room. Does Daredevil get back to it and bring us back to it? Now, unlike some other shows, I am always upfront with you guys. I tell you everything about like what we do behind the scenes in terms of access and stuff. So I have seen all of Daredevil Born Again. Disney did share the whole season with some of us, so I've seen the whole thing. So I'm going to be very measured in what I say and let my two co-hosts cook. I posted it on Twitter as my kind of reaction / review, and I said it takes patience, but we definitely get back there. And we definitely get to a place where I feel like, as far as like the MCU, you can be like, are we back? By the end of this, I think you can say we are back.
Mm-hmm.
I use those words very carefully. I was very measured in what I said, and I meant every word of it. Now, I think in these first 2 episodes, we are in the first part of what I said, is about the patience part. I think there's a reason that Disney smartly and Marvel smartly released this as a 2-episode premiere. I think the first episode alone would not do it. I think if it was the first episode alone, we'd be having a very bad discussion about Daredevil this week. I think by the end of episode 2, and we are going to talk spoilers because obviously we can't even begin to talk about this show quite literally without spoilers. So we are going to be talking spoilers, and if you don't want to hear them, you should go watch Daredevil right now. But by the end of episode 2, I think we lock in, and you're like, okay. And I think I've heard most people say, no matter what they say, is they're ready and excited for episode 3, and they want to see what comes next. So I think we had to do this really rough thing of bridging the gap between the Netflix series and this new start, which was already going to be rough, but then having to bridge a second bridge over what we thought this show was going to be originally and what we're going to do now. So that's a lot of bridges to bridge, but I think they do a pretty admirable job. I hate the opening sequence of this show, and when I saw it, I was like, I went to the other people who had seen it and was like, please tell me my anxiety level can drop about the rest of this. They were like, just keep watching. And I was like, all right. I was like, okay. Because that opening sequence is rough. It is rough. And it is indicative of like and people have fairly pointed out of everything that's like wrong with the bigger Disney system versus like the scrappy Netflix, we got to figure out how to make this work system, which is like those fight scenes in that Netflix show compared to what we get in the beginning of this one. And they attempt to do the bigger superhero-y swinging around CGI stuff. You're like, ugh. And it's very visceral, especially if you've spent time rewatching the original series leading up to this. Like, and I think it's fair, but I think the actors are more lived in these characters. But Cox and D'Onofrio are just like out of this world. Like at this point they are. I think Cox is low key, like probably like the best one of these people doing one of these characters right now with like effortlessly good he is. And I like what they do with Matt Murdock in this. We get to have some more sassy, funny, sexy Matt.
Yeah.
Like, because Matt is a man-ho and a player. Like, he's got a lot of crazy stuff in the books.
I don't want to be a player no more.
Yeah, he's racked up a lot. You know what I mean, man? Like
he crushes a lot.
Yeah, he crushes a lot. So like, I like seeing that. And anything with what's her name, Margarita, who plays the therapist.
Oh my God, Heather.
Yeah,
is it Heather? Heather Glenn. Yes.
Yeah,
she's awesome.
Yeah, that actress. If you ever seen like HBO's The Deuce and a bunch of the other stuff she's in, she's a really good chameleon. But she's like wonderful in everything she's in. So like, I mean, there's got good people. The late great guy who's playing Hector Ayala in White Tiger. Like, I mean, this show in the world. By the end of episode 2, it felt like that Netflix world again, but in an MCU. And there are some differences, like the law firm's brighter and sunnier than stuff like that. But I think it's a good marriage of the two by the end of episode 2. And I'm kind of interested to see what happens. Well, I mean, that's Cap. I already said I know what happens, but I'm interested to see how everybody else, see, I'm up here just like podcasting, lying my butt off, but I'm interested to see how everybody else reacts to episode 3, because all I'll say is episode 3 is where we begin to test. And I've said that this is a good marriage of episodic and overall serialized seasonal storytelling. And episode 3 is where we get into more of the episodic. And I don't think it's if you have half a brain, you know what episode 3 is going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
Janelle?
So,
yeah. This was interesting because when I was live streaming, I asked my audience, I was like, hey guys, what do you think? Like, how's the show going? And I had several people say that they only had watched the first episode so far. And I was very curious to know their thoughts because I completely agree with you, Kofi. I don't know how I would have processed. I don't know if I would have been as into it if I just watched episode 1 on its own and didn't continue. I mean, it was immediate. Like, baby was napping in my arms and I was like, I have to keep like this. I'm not stopping this train. Like, I have, and I tried to, like, he tried to wake up. I was like, no, you got to go back to sleep. Like, yeah. I am so obviously, like, I think everyone's like incredibly devastated with the loss. There's a huge loss in this right at the beginning, and I actually thought it was going to be flipped. I thought we were going to lose. Yeah, I honestly didn't think. Anyways, I don't want to spoil too much because I really do want people to have like. But
you're
you'll
good
know.
By the time they watch or download this, we already said we're doing spoilers, so you can go ahead. You can speak freely.
Well, I just didn't think it was going to be foggy, so I was very like. I wasn't even like emotional. I was just shocked. And the other thing that I was thinking about was if you didn't watch the original seasons, like, I don't think that would have mattered to you at all. You would have been like, who is this guy? Like, why are we freaking out? Like, what's the big deal? So I definitely feel like I told one of my friends, I was like, listen, I don't think this is going to be one of those shows that you watch for the first time right off the bat. Like, I think that there's certain shows within like the MCU, within Marvel, that you can watch having no context, not knowing any of the comic book characters, and you can be into it. But I just feel like this one is for the fans. Like, this one is for the people that already love the show, that already know these characters, that are reading the comics or have read the comics or at least familiar with the characters. Because even like Fisk is not scary yet to me in this. Like, if you don't know who Fisk at all was, if you didn't know him, you would be like, oh, he's like trying to clean up the city and, you know, oh, maybe there's something sinister, but he's not like terrifying. So the thing that made me scared of him in this is knowing his background, like knowing what he's capable of, knowing who he is and what he's already done, not what he's showing in this. Because he seems very I'm like scared of where we're going with him because he seems so like demure. He's like played down here. So
I'll just interject and say, because I want to do my job, because unlike other critics who try to like say, oh, or fake like they didn't watch the whole thing, there's a reason why I told you I did. It's because Marvel gave it to us, and Disney and Marvel's never not without purpose.
right.
Like, if they gave us all 9 episodes, and they didn't give it to us for long. We had like 4 to 5 days to watch this, and then they're gone.
Wow.
So there was a reason for that. And because I think they anticipated exactly what's happening, and they want people like me out here to say what I'm about to say, which is that I'm not going to give you any spoilers at all, but to address some of the points Janelle said, I think you got to remember that this show is called Daredevil Born Again. And that's obviously a meta reference to the show coming back after the Netflix cancellation and all that. But I will say there is you can trust that they are doing what you wanted. And I think people forget what it is they're asking for. The Netflix series, the first season, was an entire seasonal 13 episode buildup to Fisk and Daredevil essentially throwing down as their comic book counterparts in that alleyway, which was the least satisfying part of the season, by the way, if we all remember correctly, when Daredevil finally suited up, like black suit Matt, trying to scrap, trying to hold it together, finding out his own vulnerabilities and limits and all that stuff. That's what that first season was about. I can tell you to trust that this first season is about Matt having to come to terms with, you know how stubborn this guy is. Like, so He's made this decision after Foggy, and he doesn't want to go back on it.
Mm-hmm.
So this season makes him earn his way back to that, and like why he's going back to all that. The Fisk is the opposite way. It's like starting up here and trying to go here, but by the end, we all know that this is still Wilson Fisk, and that's, I think Janelle's spot on and hits the nail on the head. You can't watch this show on its own. It fundamentally requires you at all times to have the dramatic irony in mind of knowing everything that transpired. There are entire scenes of this series where it's just Matt and Fisk talking, or in a room with other people, and you're terrified because you know how much there is between these two guys.
Yeah.
And even though they're just playing these roles, right now, and their alter egos, and you know how it could go at any minute. And that's the dramatic irony. If you're just watching this show, you're like, what's going on in this scene? But like, because we know that these guys literally beat the crap until that painting is stained with their blood, like all over it, that Fisk keeps from season 3. Like that's the tension of the show. And so they play with that, I think, very well. And you can trust that this season is building us back up to a Daredevil world, but it takes its time, and it is a season of TV. And I think Marvel, this is the first real kind of like Marvel TV show, like where it is an actual dramatic season of TV that has episodic beats, but also is building to stuff. Each episode is building to something. Like in episode 2, like we already see, Matt's trying to be this other guy, but by the end of the episode, he has to flip out and beat these 2 cops down and like possibly seriously killing or injuring one of them. And it's just like screaming out loud about this. And, this is how it kind of goes throughout the season. So they do a good job. I can also promise you that this show has moments that top the Netflix series in terms of like brutal or even horrific violence.
Wow.
Like, there will be moments of this show that top the Netflix show for what you remember by the end of it. Like,
dang.
And yeah, and fight sequences and things in it that are, it's not a joke. Like, if you're worried it's Disney-fied, like, they have moments in this to just be like, stick 2 middle fingers in your face and be like, Disney this. Like, yeah, it gets gnarly. So yeah, don't worry about that part either. And that's why they gave us the 9 episodes, so that I can come out here and cape for it and be like, no, guys, you don't understand. You gotta watch all the episodes. And I'm not talking and I'm not even talking CGI, those blood splatters like we saw in the Bullseye fight. I'm talking some real, like, you will remember like painful moments of this season, like, oh, and I can't wait for that stuff. I'm so psyched to see everybody go through it week to week. It's gonna be fun. So yeah, I by the end, trust me, I have a feeling, and right now I'm like, at least in the Daredevil side, like, we're back. Like, we are so back, and I just want to live here again.
So
I can't
excited.
wait to rewatch it and just be in the streets. And this is the part of Marvel. I think they're taking the best parts of Netflix, not shying away. And there are moments and episodes that fit into the MCU world in really fun ways. I can't wait for Matt to see some of them. Matt's going to be, they made some of these episodes for you too, Matt. It's gonna be
yeah, so number one, I'm very excited to hear that. Because I really enjoyed these 2 episodes. By the end. Now, I did see some of the Law and Order slander that was going around online. Number one, I love that show, so that's not a negative for me. That's a positive. I love courtroom dramas.
They made some of these episodes just for you, Matt.
So I was very happy with that. Right. It is interesting because a lot of stuff, if you've read Daredevil Born Again, the iconic Frank Miller story, they do some wild stuff in that series with Karen specifically. And so that is very much at the core, obviously, a Matt Murdock Kingpin story, but it is also really a Matt Murdock, Karen Page story. So the beginning and having Foggy be the one wasn't surprising. In fact, I was kind of like, I felt like that's the way they were going to go. Get rid of him, make it mean something, and then you kind of leave things to focus on Karen, right? But then I also I have to say, as a huge fan of the original series, and rewatching it recently, yes, the fight scene does not hold up. Right. That fight scene, I mean, you compare that to there's moments, the moment where they're going up the stairs and Matt is just taking like dagger upon dagger to the chest. That stuff's awesome. Like there's some great stuff in that fight. Just as a whole, it left something to be desired. It felt off. But
you couldn't keep up with it. The smoke, the darkness.
Oh yeah, the cut,
all the CGI. Like he's just putting up his hands and like
Like the music hits on when he's punching, especially early on in the bar. It just feels it felt like you were watching it out of sync, but it's not. That's just the way it was. That's the way it was
I'm
made.
so glad that I wasn't the only one. I was like, clearly I'm missing something here. Like it's just not connecting for me.
And it was especially upsetting because season 3, and I remember watching this in Madison Square Garden during New York Comic Con when they first promoted it for season 3 of Daredevil, the office fight with him and Bullseye. Like this is essentially that in the bar, but in the Netflix thing, and that fight's at night. They kill the power in the building, and it's in the dark, but you still can see everything clearly, and they get the same dynamic, which is Bullseye. The hard thing about Bullseye is he's not just attacking you; he's killing people all around you as it's going. In this fight, you can't tell. It's just the dude putting up his hands, some CGI ball flying, and you see some random extra falling down in the back, and you're like, "What is happening here?"
Yeah, and other weapons against him, and you can't tell what he's grabbing half the time because he's like got a frame, and in
season 3, it's all crystal clear. Like you see Matt having to sacrifice himself because you care about the small number of people in the newsroom. Bullseye's just throwing paper clips and crazy crap at them, and he has to kind of deal with all that, and it's crystal clear what the danger is and like what's happening. Here it was just a CGI mess.
That's part of why. And going back into the original show, I loved the dynamic between Karen, Foggy, and Matt. Okay, I loved it, but I had continuous issues throughout the original show of decisions and approaches to things that they would make along the way. I don't know how many times I yelled at Foggy on the screen. That is the dumbest thing. Why would you do? Why would you do that? Why would you say that? Karen, oh my God, how are you acting that way? Matt too, but Matt, it's kind of like built in to his, they did a better job of kind of like giving you a perspective of why he makes that decision and then trying to rationalize it. And you would still disagree with it, but it wouldn't just feel out of left field. And in this episode alone, they're not even around for the whole episode. Foggy makes one critical, just stupid decision of not telling Matt what's happening and his reasoning is that same dumb thing that we dealt with for 3 seasons. I thought we already processed them. I didn't want to give you a reason. That doesn't hold up when you watch the other 3 seasons. They move through that and past that, and we've already dealt with that, and that is just stupidity. If you're putting someone else's life in danger for this very thin reason, that did not stick with me. And I was like, okay, he's off the board. Okay, good.
Oh my God. That's where you landed that plane. Wow. I'm glad Foggy fine.
God bless. Stop making stupid decisions.
That was a curveball. I did not know that plane was coming down on this tarmac. Wow.
And then Karen. Oh, but Karen's not done, because then she makes a decision when they're talking about in the courtroom. They're outside and they have the whole discussion. Her reasoning makes no sense because, dude, yes, your friend, when she's like, my friend died too, that part makes sense. And then she starts moving into, but you didn't talk to me for this. And I moved on with my life and we can't move on here because I'm still, none of that makes sense with what the 3 seasons that they dealt with over time in Matt's isolating behavior and her kind of almost running away behavior. They have all this stuff. And then we see the opening scene with them and they're in a good place, friendship place, right? It feels like, okay, this is this makes sense from where the third season ended. And then we get here and she's making decisions to like cut him and he's like reaching out. There's just stuff that doesn't line up and it feels odd. It just sticks out. It's like, that's not a decision that I feel like you would make based on y'all's history together. Also, you know, dude saw his friend die and then also then went and almost killed the dude responsible and is dealing with all of that. Like, I don't know, put it into perspective. I just feel like he's dealing with more than you. There's just a little bit of like, a lot of that stuff didn't jive. So by the end of the episode,
I think it fits into the theme because somebody's saying about Gandolfini's son, who is kind of the vessel in this season for the theme of transformation. I think a lot of the character decisions you're pointing out are being forced because of the theme. This whole theme of the season is transformation. It's like, can you achieve transformation, or what happens and how do you change and what changes you? And I think the character decisions, like Matt just hit the nail on the head, is like, that's what you're seeing, is what, you know, something happens. Now we must change, like, is kind of the overall galvanizing idea of this whole season.
I think that's why the stuff that doesn't actually include a lot of the legacy characters, other than outside of Fisk and Matt, because those two are like immovable objects. Like, they're fantastic together. They're literally chewing scenery in a diner. And I could watch that for 4 episodes, right? They're so good in those roles and they're back and forth. Money, right? But outside of them, I was like, the stuff that hits most for me was the Heather stuff. Was seeing him in this kind of new space with the law firm and all that stuff. That stuff was refreshing for me. And especially the Heather stuff, like seeing that part of his personality come out more was great. And that's the stuff I actually ate up more than the legacy stuff. And I was actually happy that we were moving past some of it. Yes, Foggy's death is going to mean a lot as we move forward and have ripple effects, obviously, from an assumption point of view. I have not seen the whole season. But I'm just saying, like, that is what resonated with me more. So when that happened, I was actually okay with putting that behind me. I was good to see it in the movie mirror.
I think I agree with you on that. No, I agree with you on that point. I think by next week, we'll all be like, okay, we are now settled into the new era of where this show crossed over into what it finally was going to become. And then from there, it begins to just be what it is. And yeah, that old legacy stuff is incorporated, but it is a new show. And I think these 2 episodes are the bumpy road of getting over that mess. Any final thoughts? Because we got more to talk about and time is moving. So
I just can't wait to keep talking about this week after week. And
it's going to be so good. Oh, you guys, it's going to be so episodes. I can't wait. There's going to be so many fun things to talk about. It's going to be a good week-to-week show. There's going to be some good week-to-week. All right. So I think we are on our way back. Let's talk about Invincible real quick. Because I didn't read the Invincible comic. This is like the flip. Matt knows all this stuff, and we do not. So this show has a habit of just taking sudden, crazy turns. And this latest episode, the penultimate episode of season 3, may be the craziest. The amount of crap not even crap, the amount of crazy stuff we pump into this episode is nuts, and it never lets up. So this is why I saw you comic fans flexing during season 2, being like, you got to wait till season 3. Wait till you see. And I'm like, okay, well, now I get it.
Why do we all smoke and are all 80 years old?
I don't know. But it's smarminess. That's my smarmy voice. So the Invincible War. I've heard this term. I didn't know what it meant until the end of last episode, and we saw Angstrom Levy return. Spoilers. We're going to be talking spoilers for Invincible because there's no way not to. Angstrom Levy return. Sterling K. Brown's having a great week on TV between the finale of Paradise, getting season 2, and having a big return in Invincible in his coolest kind of part yet. And shout out to the animators, because I saw where the budget went this season with this episode. The animation, for everybody who complains, you guys, people have been flexing on, the anime side has been flexing on anime Twitter about the animation budget for this episode, because it was crazy. That Angstrom Levy fight was nuts with all those little orbs and everything. But we got the Invincible War, where Angstrom Levy gathered all these, you know, sociopathic marks from different realities and went to war and just wrecking Earth. And like, it's crazy how many other comic book related things are doing multiverse stories better than Marvel is on this whole MCU business. Because this was a great multiverse story. It's like, yeah, what if somebody brought all the worst versions of you out and showed it to the world and just was like, yeah, here's who this dude is. And here's the case for why this is. And like, you know, then it gets kind of, my head was all messed up about the numbers, the odds, like how many good me's are there versus evil me's out there? Like, what is the count? Like, you know, and what does that mean? Like, and all that stuff. And so, yeah, that was a great kind of sci-fi story for me. It was kind of a mind screw. Like, yeah, what if all of you, what do you do after that when the whole world's seeing you or all these versions of you? How many people can actually separate out? Like, oh, I know that was your variant. Don't worry about it. Like, yeah, I feel like the world's coming in. But anyway, great fights. Then an epic Angstrom Levy rematch. And as we can't even catch our breath from all that, the people who die, the people who get severely injured. And then there's another Viltrumite dude by the end, the worst one yet. Like, this show is insane, man. We are so back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Janelle, I'm sorry. I know this one probably didn't mess with you on several levels.
Yeah, this one wasn't as bad as the previous one with the kiddo burning to ashes with his mom. That was terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah, I had no
but
idea about
who would
that.
have known that a animated show could really hurt me so badly? Yeah, the show is honestly, it makes my heart feel like it's going to explode. Like, it gives me anxiety, which is a good sign, but also like not great if you're binging right before bed. So and then
I've
you
had
finish
some
it
wild
off.
dreams this week. I won't lie. Like,
Then you
yeah.
finish it off with a lovely kiss of death in the end of the world.
Yeah, Paradise. Oh,
Paradise, yeah.
yeah. I'm doing a lot of these at like 3 a.m. when I
Yep.
wake up. Like,
Terrible.
yeah,
Me too.
it's. I've had some wild dreams. I'm not gonna lie.
I didn't sleep. It's fine. But honestly, like, it's such a good show. Like, it's so good, and I can't believe how good between this and like Harley Quinn, Creature Commandos. Like, you guys, the animation side of things with comic books
Yeah.
is rocking. So good.
We have won you over to the world of animation on this show.
Mhm.
It has taken
Our
a long
6-year
time.
indoctrination plan. 5 years, 6 years, or whatever it's been.
Well, it also helps that like we have gotten some of the best animated projects over the last 2
Yeah, I mean,
years.
it's crazy. We have had some really good ones. I got to watch Blue Eye Samurai again. Anyway,
Oh, yeah.
that's neither here nor there. Matt, I know you're burdened by the knowledge of the comics, but are we in for one hell of a season finale? And is there more to be excited about in Invincible?
I'm surprised that they actually packed so much of the story and action pieces here into this episode. Like, I kind of assumed that like you're gonna get this Invincible War and we're getting like this battle. I thought either it would be put out over multiple episodes and have one of them be the finale, and then you maybe tee up, Conquest. You kind of tee that up for the next season, or that's kind of the big thing. But no, I mean, there's so much that happened in this episode. Also, we are getting into spoilers, right?
Yeah.
For this one, we can.
Yeah.
RP explode. Right.
That one hit me. I was like,
such a great
Jason
moment.
Mantzoukas, and it's such a bastard. He like, who's a Kirkman in them? Like, build him up, make us love him, and then just.
Yeah. And in such a heroic way, he really gets that moment. He said, like, I agree with you wholeheartedly, by the way. Invincible did the multiverse Doomsday and stuff, Secret Wars, gonna have to you're gonna have something that has set a very high bar for multiversal storytelling already with Invincible. So you're like, I'm going to compare you because you're going to be dealing with multiversal stuff, villain versions of your hero characters. You're going to be dealing with that on a screen. So I'm going to be holding that up against, because Invincible has done that supremely well. That said, I'm very curious to see what we get in the finale. It should be bonkers. But the last 2 seasons, Invincible has kind of always tricked me on its finales. They've always kind of done something different than I expect, whether that's pacing, space it out, save it for this. Oh, we're going to put it all here. They've kind of always messed with my expectations a little bit. So it's going to be bonkers, but this was bonkers. So I don't know how I'm very curious to see how they kind of deliver on this finale and set up the next season. But they pulled that part off brilliantly. That was fantastic.
Shout out to your boy Janelle Stephen Young for the voice work in this one.
Dude, I love it.
Playing like several,
all the
like
different
a dozen
18
marks.
different marks.
Yeah, it's so great. He's the best.
There's some lines in this episode where they're just so sociopathic. It's like, dude, I didn't kill mom. Like in my reality, like, and he's like, oh, I did. I miss her. Like, you're like, oh my God, it's chilling. But anyway, we got to go. Paradise. I don't want to take too long on this because I'm not going to spoil anything about the ending, and we're not going to get into that because I think a lot of people are still discovering the show. Yeah. I posted it. The reveal of the whodunit didn't get me. I felt like that was a little bit of a cop out, but the overall impact of the show, the overall impact of the season, the performances of the characters, particularly James Marsden in this, who never gets enough credit, I think, for how well he's doing these days for everything he's chosen, and the wide range from Sonic the Hedgehog to this, like, is a pretty wide range. But Marsden's doing good, and I'm hyped for this world and for season 2 and to see where it goes. Like, I feel like this is the successor to Lost, like I've been waiting for. It's like 24. It's like somebody saw 24 and Lost on a DVD binge, and we're like, all right, let's just put those 2 shows together. And Jericho, 24 Lost and Jericho, the best of the 2000s.
Oh,
so
man, Jericho, wow,
yeah, right.
I love that show. That's a great.
So so like I'm hyped for season 2, and I'm hyped for this world, and Sterling K. Brown, all the cast, they did a fantastic job. So, and the individual episodes was great.
Jury Duty's so good.
This one and like the one before this last one, what showed you what happened on the day of the whole catastrophe, that was great stuff. The production of the show, second to none. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really
Matt, good?
It's good. Yeah.
Eat good. It's good.
I mean, it's disturbing and it like ruins your life, but it's good.
I mean, it is. I mean, it's a nightmare scenario. Yeah, that the day of the emergency episode did leave me like gasping for breath. Oh, I was just breathing into a bag.
I'm not well.
Yeah. But anyway, let's move on to comics. So, Matt, you want to take that?
Yeah, Ultimates number 10, man. We got to get either an Ultimate Universe or an Absolute. And by the way, Absolute Superman hits next week.
Yes.
Woo. Okay. We're gonna stop there. We'll stop there. Can't spoil things, but that. Oh my God! All right, so I'm very excited to talk about that. But Ultimates number 10.
Oh, before we go, because Zach G in the comments said something. Yes, we are watching Reacher. Oh yes, I am definitely watching Reacher. We just don't have time this week, so we are watching Reacher. You better believe it. All right, go ahead, Matt.
Reacher is, oh my God, Reacher's so good. Yes. Okay. By the way, real quick aside on Reacher, only because Alan Richardson, I have the whole trend, the meme thing about him and Aquaman has been making me laugh all week, right? Because there was someone threw out the idea, imagine, and I love the responses of like showing images of him. Imagine if he was, because he was. Yeah, Smallville for life.
Smallville.
I've been watching a lot of Smallville reels and clips on like it's just been coming up in my feed, and oh my God, that show is one of my favorites of all time. All right, anyway, let's get back to Ultimates. Ultimates number 10. This book has done, we've been talking about it with Ultimate Wolverine. We've been talking about it in Ultimate Spider-Man, obviously, even Ultimate Black Panther. The reinvention of not just characters, but ideas, and then switching out the character behind them and making it mean something has been like the Ultimate Universe has done such a great job of this, obviously with taking the Winter Soldier of it all and then applying that to Wolverine, right? That was such a unique thing. Well, the other side of the coin is flipped
buddy.
in Ultimates number 10. And I will even just say, just the stuff about the invaders and the defenders and all the things they're working with here and making that count and feel
Human
real.
Torch.
Oh my God. Like talk about taking a character like and taking a concept, right? Because there's multiple Human Torches and we're always like, oh, Johnny Storm and Fantastic Four or whatever. But taking that character and then linking it back to like that era and doing so many cool things that they're doing in the book. And also we are getting the spoilers here. So, you know, RIP Namor, getting a little, that's rough, boy. That's rough. You know, it's rough when you don't just die, you get like display, you get like displayed. It's rough. But then we get to the big kind of reveal here and the flipping of, okay, well, if Winter Soldier's over there and we're dealing with Wolverine things, well, what is actually happening with Bucky? And the way they twist that here and tie it into Cap's whole history. And I just thought this is like a prime example of what the Ultimate Universe does so well, and why it's kind of must read every single week. A book comes out from there. What did you guys think?
I'm with you. I'm loving the Ultimate Universe, and I like this book because this book it does a good job of being, again, like episodic and serialized at the same time. Like each issue can be kind of self-contained, but it's telling this larger story to it. And this particular mission, there is so many good mixes of things. The kind of co-opting of the Punisher, which is something we saw also like kind of in Daredevil side, like this whole idea of, you know, what the Red Skull is and the kind of reveal there, I thought was like, you know what, this makes so much sense actually when you think about all that kind of history and how that all goes in the main universe, and then having like the brainwashing, have this person end up being a Red Skull. Like, yeah, that makes so much sense. And so the action was good. Like the story was good. And kind of like they are weaving these kind of crazy socio-political points into it as we're going through this. And so it's just an interesting book, but like the remix, like you said, there's this, the remix on the character dynamics and stuff like that is just really well done. And I like what they're cooking with here. And we went through that series like Ultimate Invasion or whatever, and we were like, what was this? But it set up this world that I'm having a ton of fun in. So, you know,
I gotta give credit. They set the foundation very well for as clustered as that series was. Janelle, what did you feel about this one?
I mean, dude, this is just crazy. I honestly did not see the turn, like the thing at the end, the big reveal with Bucky. I did not see that at all. So I was completely shook. And it was so rewarding because like the whole battle, I'm just kind of going, okay, what are we doing? Why are we here? What's happening? I can't remember. Like, how did we get here? There's just the reveals of this between Bucky and then our mounted fish. Oh God.
The fish that does not rot.
No, like that was so disturbing. Like that like made my stomach drop seeing him like that. That was crazy. Like really impactful. And yeah, I mean, we get the story. You've already talked about everything, but these two like really impactful things makes this book stand out so much.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree. And by the way, I did not see the Bucky thing coming.
Okay, good.
Mostly because like, I don't know what to expect. Like, yes, that's one of the options, right? Like of who this could be. Cause they make a point, right? Like to highlight, like you can't read his voice and the voices that he's talking to. So you're like, okay, it's somebody, but the Ultimate Universe has done such a good job of like zagging when you think it's gonna zig that I go, okay, it could be somebody else related to him. What if this is like you just don't know. And so for them to finally pull that rabbit out of the hat and you go, oh yeah, that makes all the sense in the world. And that's so good. I can't wait to see where we go from next from that, right? Did anyone have a chance to read Doctor Strange of Asgard?
No, but I'm looking at it right now.
I did. I scrolled it, but it was a bit of a talkie. It was a bit of a talkie.
It is a oh boy, yeah, it is. It's super talkie.
But is it good?
Not my cup of tea. I don't ever like the mystical kind of Asgardian side of Marvel.
I mean,
I
all I'm
try.
saying is I see Strange and Loki in one book. I'm about to freak.
Yeah, see
Yeah.
that? Okay, so that number one, that whole part right there, the most
Mhm.
interesting part of the entire issue. But what I will say is, I think Janelle might like it. Number one, because she's such a huge Doctor Strange fan.
Yeah.
And you get to spend a lot of time with Doctor Strange and other characters that he plays off of really well. He plays kind of the straight man, buttoned up type of thing to some of these other
Yeah.
Asgardians. And that's fun to see because it just brings out some of that surliness in his personality. And then I like the idea. I feel like this was a bit long as far as like before stuff really hits. And we spend a little too much time kind of just in the world without really getting anywhere. But that stuff is enjoyable. And by the end of it, I do think it sets the table really well for like the series. Like I'm intrigued to see where he goes from here. Because right now you're kind of like Doom's gonna be the Sorcerer Supreme for a while. We got that event is gonna take a long time. So we got to find something interesting to do with Doc Strange for better part of a year, right? Because like One World Under Doom is going to take a while to finish. It's a long series and there's a lot of tie-ins. So this is to me as compelling as anything, and I think it's interesting. So kind of mixed on the debut, but there's parts I liked, and I think the series could be fun.
All right, is that comics?
That's comics.
All right, that'll do it for that segment of Comic Book Nation. Matt, you have anything to get off in your?
Yeah, I was gonna talk a little bit about WWE 2K25, but I'm gonna push that to next week because I'm actually not through completely with the review. There's still like one mode I really need to give some time to before it goes live on the site. And then also there's some other things I want to flesh out a little bit. So I will talk all about that next week. Also, it is the actual release of the game next week. People are playing right now because they pre-ordered and so they have early access. But next week is the release. So I will have full thoughts and footage and all kinds of stuff next week. But I did want to touch on something that is live today. Well, number one, it's not even in the notes, so I will just briefly mention it here. Marvel Rivals has their new clone Rumble mode that is live today, and there's new stuff in the game from the second half of season 2. But also Disney Speedstorm. I've talked about it before. It's their free-to-play racing game. That game is like so good. It's ridiculous for being like a free-to-play racing game. Like, it has no business being this good. Last season hit with The Incredibles. Live today is the new season, and it's Tron Legacy, which I just adore. I have a soft spot for the Tron franchise. I really enjoy Tron Legacy. The fact that we're getting a sequel finally and all that is like
I'm
great.
excited
Like
for that,
I'm
actually.
hyped for that. And so this fits the racing format so well, right? Like, it's almost like I can't believe it took them this long to do it. And the fact that we're getting this game is legit a really incredibly fun racing game. It is just fun to play. You have all the Disney characters and everything. I played this with Ember, and we'll go back and forth and trade the controller. All the Disney characters control differently. They all have fun abilities. It's actually just like Mario Kart is hard to top, right? So that's always kind of the bar. I'm not going to say it's better than Mario Kart because Mario Kart is like a classic thing, but I will say this is the one that, I mean, this is the outside of Mario Kart, this is the racer I play. It's better than all the other racers. These kinds of racers, right? This is my preferred one. I will always adore Mario Kart, so it's up there, kind of an untouchable status. But Disney Speedstorm deserves some respect. Incredibly fun, especially if you're a Disney fan. So it's live today. You should go play it. It's free to play. Do it.
Are you saying we should put some respect on its name?
I put some respect on my name. I'm Birdman.
Right.
I'm gonna walk out of this podcast.
Listen here, yeah. Listen here, you heard me. We got that Tron Legacy Racing.
And then I'm gonna fall asleep on stage. But it's still fun.
All right. So that is Matt's agenda, and that'll do it for this episode of Comic Book Nation. We are the only show that does it all for geek culture, even though some other shows may try to brand it that way. We are also on comicbook.com, where you can find all of our work. Janelle Wheeler is over on Twitch, where hopefully you will find us again next week. We may have had a technical thing this week, but we're going to look into that. Thank you guys for showing up for the live show again. Sorry we missed you last week, but we hope you enjoyed hearing us behind the scenes when we think it's just us in the room and the kind of crazy unhinged talk that we tend to have for real skis. So we will see you guys next week. We'll be doing Daredevil talk. I forget what else is happening. The content's starting to pick up. There's a lot coming at us, but we will be here to cover it all for y'all. Matt, Janelle, thanks for being here today. You guys have a great weekend. This is Comic Book Nation. We are out. See you guys. Peace.